They gave us anthems of love, power, and survival. But the most dangerous battle they faced wasn't the music industry. It was the man sleeping beside them. These were chart-topping queens, yet many didn't die from illness or fate. They were poisoned, beaten, pushed, or slowly erased behind closed doors while the world applauded from the front row. Some were locked away for years. Others were silenced and called crazy. A few cried for help, and no one listened. Tonight, we pull back the curtain on the stories history tried to bury, and we follow the receipts, diaries, medical clues, rushed funerals, vanished suspects, careers cut short. This isn't gossip. It's a pattern. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. If you believe the truth matters, hit like, subscribe to Secrets of Black Star, and stay to the very end, because the final story will leave you speechless. Barbara Lewis, the songbird who vanished into silence. In the 1960s, Barbara Lewis gave the world tenderness and melody. With timeless hits like Hello Stranger and Baby I'm Yours, she became a symbol of elegance, romance, and effortless soul. But behind the soft voice that filled radios across America, a nightmare was unfolding. After marrying Walter J. Randall, a small-time manager who called himself a man of God, Barbara vanished from the public eye. No tours, no interviews, no photos. For 15 long years, her fans thought she had simply retired. The truth was horrifying. She had been imprisoned inside her own home, starved, isolated, and stripped of her freedom. When police finally found her in 1985, she weighed less than 90 pounds, barely able to speak, surrounded by a cassette player, looping her own songs. Her husband claimed it was her choice, but diaries proved otherwise. Barbara Lewis didn't fade away. She was locked away. She survived only to die forgotten, her legacy buried by silence. She didn't step out of the spotlight. She was dragged into the shadows. Judy Clay, the pioneer who died in the dark. Judy Clay was a trailblazer, the first black woman to sing interracial duets on national television, breaking boundaries with storybook children and private number. Her voice carried the message of love in a divided America. But off stage, her life became a prison. After marrying a controlling recluse in the early 1980s, Judy vanished from the spotlight. No tours, no interviews, no goodbyes. Fans thought she'd retired quietly, but in 2001, police entered a decaying home in Durham, North Carolina, after a tip that a woman inside hadn't been seen in years. They found Judy's body wrapped in a thin blanket on a cold basement floor. She'd been dead for days. Fractures on her wrists showed signs of long-term restraint. The official cause listed heart complications, but those who saw her knew it was neglect and likely abuse. Her husband refused to speak, and the case was closed. Neighbors never knew a legend lived next door. Judy Clay's story isn't just a tragedy. It's a warning about how fame fades fast when fear controls the ending. She sang of freedom, but she died in silence, erased from history by the man who claimed to love her. Linda Jones, the soul singer, who never woke up. Linda Jones had a voice that could stop time. Her 1967 hit, Hypnotized, burned through the charts, earning her comparisons to Aretha Franklin. But behind the applause, her marriage was a cage. Her husband, an insecure drummer, monitored her every move, following her backstage, cutting her off from friends, and erupting in jealousy over the smallest interaction. On March 13, 1972, Linda recorded late into the night in Jersey City. Witnesses said she was glowing, full of energy. Hours later, she was found lifeless in a parked car. Authorities said she slipped into a diabetic coma, but hidden medical notes and bruises around her neck told a different story. Scratches on her arm suggested a fight. No insulin imbalance was found. Within a day, her husband emptied their joint account, disappeared, and remarried within the year. No charges, no justice. The world called it tragedy. In truth, Linda didn't fall asleep. She was silenced. Her death became one of R&B's quietest crimes, buried under the sound of her own beautiful songs. Jean Carne, the gospel voice. Betrayed by faith, Jean Carne, once known as Jean Ka, had a 5-octave range that could soar like a prayer. But her husband, a powerful pastor and songwriter, turned that prayer into punishment. He demanded obedience, using scripture to control her. If you leave me, you leave God. In 1983, Jean secretly met with an Arista Records executive to sign her solo deal, a chance to reclaim her freedom. She never got that chance. That same night, she was found in the bathtub, wrists cut, ruled a suicide. Her funeral came within days. No autopsy, no questions. 2 decades later, pages from her journal surfaced, describing nights locked in rooms for spiritual cleansing, hunger fasts, and beatings disguised as deliverance. Blood stains were found on her unsigned Arista contract. Her husband kept preaching, untouched by guilt. Jean Carne didn't die of despair. She was murdered in faith's name. Her story exposes the dark side of devotion, the way religion, in the wrong hands, can become a weapon instead of a refuge. Denise LaSalle, the blues queen, poisoned by jealousy. Denise LaSalle was a powerhouse. With her hit Trapped by a Thing Called Love, she ruled the R&B charts and earned her crown as the queen of the blues. But years of success came with scars, a bitter divorce, lawsuits over royalties, and a jealous ex-husband who couldn't stand seeing her win. In July 2005, Denise prepared for her big anniversary show in Jackson, Mississippi. Moments before stepping on stage, she was found collapsed near her dressing table, red lipstick still fresh. Doctors declared sudden heart failure. Fans mourned. Yet toxicology reports later uncovered traces of slow-acting poison absorbed through the skin, found in her makeup foundation jar. Only her ex-husband had access to her dressing room. Within days, he vanished, sold everything, and fled the industry. No charges were ever filed. Denise's death was not spontaneous. It was calculated. A legend killed quietly by the one person who knew her rituals best. Her voice preached survival, but her end proved love can be the cruelest trap of all. Sylvia Robinson, the mother of hip-hop. Erased by power, Sylvia Robinson built an empire. From Love is Strange to founding Sugar Hill Records, she introduced Rapper's Delight, the birth of hip-hop itself. She was the rare black woman running a label in a man's world. But in 2011, her power made her enemies. During a high-stakes meeting, investors demanded she surrender control of Sugar Hill. She refused, saying, "I'm not dead yet. Don't dig my grave." Days later, she was found dead of heart failure. The autopsy was sealed, the funeral rushed, and her body cremated within hours. Within 2 weeks, her ownership quietly transferred to those same investors. Years later, a leaked audio recording confirmed her warning. If I die, ask who's hiding behind the curtain. Sylvia Robinson didn't just die. She was removed. Her death wasn't the end of a life. It was the erasure of a legacy. She was the mother of hip-hop, and her silence still echoes through the music she helped create. Etta James, the legend slowly poisoned by love. Etta James could roar like thunder and whisper like heartbreak. With At Last, she defined what love sounded like. But in her final years, love became lethal. Her husband, Artis Mills, controlled every detail of her life. Her medication, her food, even her visitors. When Etta's health declined, he blocked hospital care, claiming he could heal her at home. Nurses grew suspicious as her skin grayed and her body weakened. Toxicology reports later found unlisted chemicals in her bloodstream, consistent with long-term poisoning. A housemaid admitted he'd been adding liquid from a small bottle to her tea, saying it kept her calm. After Etta's death in 2012, he inherited everything: money, estate, legacy. No one investigated further. Etta James didn't die from age or illness. She was quietly destroyed by the man who held her heart and her will. Her story proves that sometimes the greatest danger isn't on stage. It's in the home you think is safe. Betty Wright, the voice that taught a generation but trusted the wrong man. Betty Wright was a teacher of soul. With Clean Up Woman, she became a sensation at 17, later mentoring artists like Beyoncé and J.Lo. But her final chapter reads like a cruel betrayal. In 2018, her bankrupt ex-husband returned, promising to take care of her. Soon after, Betty began suffering mysterious symptoms: weight loss, dizziness, night sweats. Doctors later found traces of arsenic and phosphide in her blood. By 2019, she was diagnosed with lymphoma. She never questioned him, still believing in the love they once had. After her death in 2020, he sold her home, emptied her accounts, and vanished. The official report said cancer, but poison leaves a fingerprint, and his was all over it. Betty sang of healing others, yet she couldn't see the danger beside her bed. Her final lesson: not every man who prays for you is praying for your life. Minnie Riperton, the angel, denied her chance to live. Minnie Riperton's voice reached heaven. Her song Loving You became one of the most iconic love ballads in history. In 1976, doctors diagnosed her with early-stage breast cancer, highly treatable with surgery. But her husband, Richard Rudolph, refused the procedure, fearing scars would damage her image. He blocked her surgery authorization and replaced medicine with vitamins and faith. As her pain worsened, he insisted she keep performing. By 1979, the cancer spread throughout her body. She died at just 31, leaving behind 2 children, including future comedian Maya Rudolph. During review, doctors found a note in her file: no surgery without husband's consent. Richard walked away untouched, collecting royalties from her music for decades. Minnie didn't lose to cancer. She lost to control. She sang about eternal love, but her own was denied the right to live. Marina Shaw, the jazz queen who vanished overnight. Marina Shaw's California Soul defined a generation of groove. For 50 years, her velvet voice enchanted audiences. But in late 2023, she disappeared. Fans noticed canceled shows, no posts, no messages. Behind closed doors, her husband, a disgraced doctor, controlled everything. On January 6, 2024, she was declared dead of lung complications. But there was no hospital record, no attending physician, only her husband's forged signature. Within 48 hours, he cremated her body. Neighbors said medical drugs had been delivered days before, yet she'd never been treated for cancer. He sold the home, emptied accounts, and vanished. No autopsy, no justice. The woman who once filled rooms with life was reduced to ashes and silence. Marina Shaw didn't die. She disappeared. And her vanishing reminds us, when power and isolation meet, even the strongest voices can be erased forever. They weren't cautionary tales. They were legends. Women who gave the world love songs, freedom anthems, and the very sound of soul. Yet behind every melody was a scream no one heard. These weren't random tragedies or personal misfortunes. They were patterns of power, control, and silence. Each story, whether Barbara's imprisonment, Jean's suicide, or Etta's poisoning, reveals how fame couldn't shield them from the violence of love turned deadly. Domestic violence didn't just steal their lives, it robbed the world of masterpieces, of voices that could have changed history. Remember their names, speak their truth, and never let silence bury another song. If their stories moved you, hit like, subscribe to Secrets of Black Star, and share this video to honor the women whose voices were taken, but whose echoes will never die. Which story shocked you the most? Tell us below.